Yeah, it worked. And I'm making sound? 1212. I appear to be making sound. Um, how's it going? Ladies and gents, welcome back to Liam Taylor Guitar. Um, I'm not sorry that I wasn't streaming last week because I was tired. There you go. That's a little insight into my life. Hi. I'm really chuffed because I got sent in the post this little thing. Um, this is, if I can remember my buttons, DD-200 by Boss. It's on loan from Boss, which is cool. And I'm just going to use this stream as kind of an excuse to deep dive into what it can and I was going to say what it can and can't do, but I'm actually not sure if there's much it can't do for a delay pedal. It seems pretty versatile. I've only had a little bit of a play with it so far. Words. So I'm really excited to, have a bit more of a look at it. And I think this could be a good excuse to talk about kind of delay pedals in general, and what sort of recent advances in guitar technology has meant that we can do with delay pedals now. That felt like it wasn't a coherent sentence, but I think it basically was. So let's have a bit of a muck around before we actually get into like the serious stuff. It's going to be so serious, so very serious, and I'm also gonna try and repurpose a lot of what we do today for some other videos about uh, delay and this pedal and stuff. Ooh, that was weird. Um, so if it looks like at some point I'm looking over there rather than over there, it's because I am absolutely doing that. Yeah, that's all good. So it might help me make my case a little bit more if we switch out to a cleaner amp. Do 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 do. Although, like, we will be talking about distorted amps and stuff in a bit. That's nicer. it's a nice delay. I'm very conscious that my screen appears to be flickering a little bit. Are you going to do it again now that I'm paying attention, or are you going to not do it? Just going to not do it. Just got to assume it's not real then. So, okay. That's a nice little intro into the pedal, because it's a nice sounding pedal. So I wanted to kind of use this as an excuse to talk about signal chain as well. And this is the bit that I want to record as well. So, currently, the way this is plugged in, we have a situation where we have our delay pedal, this guy, guitar's going straight into the delay pedal, and then let's try that again. We have a situation at the moment where we have our guitar is plugged into the delay pedal is plugged into the amplifier. Okay, that's fine, because it sounds, in this instance, really nice. But what if, let's say we're using a slightly more cranked amplifier, so let's just say like some kind of plexi jump lead. So if we go for something like, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, volume most of the way, mid cut, something like this. So not like super fiery, but like chunky. Not heavy gain, but like certainly distorted. So now, if you're one of those cool guitarists that likes distortion and delay, you know, because everyone does, what's going to happen is, because the distortion is coming from this amp head, anything that goes into it, maybe this is so obvious I don't need to say it, but anything that goes into that is going to be distorted by the amp head, which includes any delay that you have before the amp head. So actually, what might be helpful is, just for the sake of visualizing, let's put this delay pedal there so you can sort of visualize the signal chain. If we have our delay pedal here going to this amp, and this amp is what's giving us all our distortion and our crunch, the delay effect, the tail from the delay, is going to be distorted as well. Yeah? So, for example, what was a nice, pleasant, clean sound is now kind of mucky. And that's a shame, because actually the delay effects you get in the pedal are really, really nice. For example, I'm really fond of this pad sound. So even if let me get to this first. So the pad sound can create like a really nice sort of ambient effect out of your guitar playing, and it sounds a lot like a synth pad. And that's fine in some bits, but you can hear when, like, you kind of chug it. That doesn't sound so nice, does it? Especially if you do anything... especially annoying is the fact that actually the kind of distortion you get in a lot of the more vintage amplifiers, like the older Marshalls and stuff, is quite responsive. So if you play quietly, let me turn this off for a sec. If you play quietly, it's not incredibly crunchy. But if you actually, if you play aggressively, you get a lot more distortion. And that's just to do with the volume, the amplitude from your instrument that your guitar. That's to do with the amplitude, the volume of your playing that that amp is receiving. So if the amp is receiving nice, gentle, jazzy chords, it's not going to give you a lot of crunch. But if you start playing heavy, it's going to start distorting. Now, why is this a problem in relation to delay pedals? Well, because if you want to do any of the big evolving pad type sounds, if you put the volume up, well, if you put the level and feedback up in such a way that it's going to kind of, well, feedback on itself and create a loop, like a never-ending loop that only ever increases in volume, you're going to get a distorted sound even if you play so quietly that if you didn't have the delay pedal there, it wouldn't be distorted. But because you're getting a distorted sound. So let's try. So this is what I'm going to play with the delay pedal on. So it's kind of starting to peak a little bit. It's getting a little fuzzier. Yeah, now it's getting a little dirtier, isn't it? And less nice to hear. Yeah. So that is kind of a problem. So what's the fix? Well, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have your delay pedal in front of your amplifier, like at all. You just wouldn't. In an ideal world, you would have your delay pedal, well, either between the amplifier and the speaker cabinet, but actually what you can do now really is put it after your speaker cabinet. How's that possible? Well, I mean, in this instance, it's really easy because I'm using the Pod Farm by Line 6, and I can just plug it in any which way I like. And actually, that sort of thing is quite popular at the moment, like Axe Effects, the Line 6 range. Like, you can put an effect after any kind of speaker processing before it goes to the desk, and you can still have a little monitor on stage so you can hear yourself, but like all of your delays and stuff will be post gain, post distortion, so you get a really nice effect. So let's see if we can swap these cables around a bit. So hang on, this is the bit where I get really confused. I love being covered in cables. Right, that needs to come out, and that needs to go in here. So that's, oh yeah, because that's on, my bad. So that's just straight into there. So now what I need to do is, I've confused myself. Hang about. Right. So those are the outputs. Yep. Other way around. So what I need to do is plug. See, will I do this right? Probably not. That one into there. You know, if I was a real professional, I would have cut away to some, like, sketch or something while I was doing that. But I didn't prepare that because I'm not a professional. Well, I am. But, right, so... have I done this right? So I need to turn that one down. Why is that happening? Oh, okay. Right. This is what happens when you don't prep. So we want to separate 7 and 8. Or we want to combine them. There it is. Much better. So you can hear how now, as we have the go away universal control. I don't like PreSonus anymore, by the way. Just thought I'd put that out there. Really bad customer service. So yeah. Yeah, the signal is a little bit wonky. Can I just... yeah, that works. So, now we can actually hear the effect after the amplifiers. And there's some different kind of amplifiers, like solid states, that have an effects loop. So for example, your delay pedal would basically go in between the head and the speaker cabinet, which is fine because you're getting the distortion after it's been, you're getting the distortion and then the delay and then the speakers. I have to do that again because that camera failed. So that's... oh, let's just go back to the first bit. So you can get some amplifiers that will give you an effects loop, which essentially means that your delay pedal will go in between the speaker head and the amplifier head and the speaker cabinet, which means that you have all of the distortion and EQ and whatever you got on your amp head, then the delay, and then it goes out to your speakers. Now that's pretty good, but all that means is that your delay effects will also be affected by the speakers. And as we know, like, the speakers do contribute an awful lot to the sound of your guitar amp. But that's not the worst thing in the world, really. I think if you want a really clean sound, you're going to have to find a way to put your delay at the very end of the signal chain. But it's not always possible, is it? So now we have our delay pedal where we want it. Let's maybe have a little play with the different settings again. Let's put that there so we can actually see it. Don't know what's going on with my capture card. Real pain in the butt. Oh well. Yeah, let's have a play. So, like, when you have the pedal on that side of the amp, you get a really nice, dynamic, responsive delay sound rather than just, you know, crunch when you don't want crunch. That's the short version. Right. Let's maybe do kind of a deep dive into the manual and stuff. Keep pressing all the wrong buttons. So if I put this, let me just rearrange my entire life. Put that there. Put you over there. Put myself over here. Without ruining the whole world. Oops. Oops, this probably sounds horrible. And put you over here. Hello. Nailed it. Right, so. Also need to move this down. Remember to focus your cameras, kids. There's some good advice. So let's have a bit of a read. So the thing that I find really interesting is you've got this parameter function. So you've got 12 different settings, yeah? So 12 different delay modes, which all have like a slightly different I say a slightly different character. Some of them have a very different character to them. And this is one of the things that actually, like, when you get a delay pedal, delay effects vary so widely. It's nice to have something that's kind of more like a multi-effect. But then the problem is, how do you deliver several things with the quality that you would expect from a single dedicated unit? And the way that Boss have found around this is this little guy here, the parameter knob. So let's have a look. I've just got the manual up on my screen. So the parameter knob will do something different depending on what mode it's in. So if we're in standard, for example, there we go. Can't actually read upside down. STD for standard. So in standard mode, the parameter adjusts the attack of the delay effect. So that basically means, does the delay come in suddenly, which I guess would be down there, or does it sort of fade in, which I guess would be there? So let's have a little listen to that. See if we can hear the difference. Whilst also remembering to focus. So if we've got, let's turn down the gain quite a lot as well for the sake of everyone's sanity. So let's have it down here. So presumably there's no attack. Yeah, it sounds like there's no attack there. So what if we put it all the way up? Yeah, it kind of fades in. It almost has that kind of a psychedelic backwards delay effect, but not actually backwards. So like full kind of chordy stuff. Yeah, that's what you want. That's really nice. What is another one? What do we got? So if we're in analog, boop, it adjusts the character of the delay sound and the sense of distortion. So what is 0? what is full. Right, so that's kind of cool actually. It's literally just the distortion on the delay, so I guess that's more makes it feel more like an analog unit if you just have a little bit of crunch there. I need to put another battery pack in that camera. Man, I prepared so, like, I actually did prepare for ages for this stream, and it just kind of has all, it's not all gone wrong, it's just not going quite to plan, which is a different thing. But you know what, I think that's the joy of live streams, is that they can kind of be a little bit all over the place. Okay, I was just checking this is actually a rechargeable battery, because that would be super awkward if I exploded. Or maybe it would be fair enough, I don't know. That goes in there. That comes out of there. I'll tell you what, actually. Let's get two just in case. Make it look like I know what I'm doing. That's like my entire life in summary there. There we go. Where were we at? We were looking at the parameter function. Let's see if there's any really interesting ones, because they all basically do something different. That's kind of the gist of what I'm getting at. So we have, in tape mode, parameter sets the combination of three playback heads. The decimal point is shown for the lowest digit. Distortion is added to the sound. I don't know enough about delay to know what that means. That's good, isn't it? So shimmer is perhaps a good example. So shimmer, the parameter determines the brightness of the delay effect. So that's kind of a dull one. And then all the way up. Ooh. That's like an octave on that shimmer, isn't there? Delay that combines pitch shifted sound. That's really nice. So yeah, I guess that sort of changes the pitch. Or the volume of the pitch. Because you also have a tone knob. So you could have like a really, really bright indeed. Ooh, that's quite nice. So what if you had the parameter all the way up but the tone all the way down? Yeah, you sort of can't really hear the shimmer effect there. Yeah, it's quite nice. What else have we got? Terra Echo, it just says adjust the amount of distinctive character for the effect sound. Surely that's what that button does for all of them. So Terra Effect, let's have a Terra Echo. Echo sound that is neither reverb nor delay, with spaciousness and motion. Alright. Let's have that about 50-50. I mean, that's patently not true. That is both reverb and delay. But you've got like a sort of biting filter. So what happens if you turn the motion all the way down? Oh, it still sort of does it. Interesting. So parameter all the way up. Ooh. It's like a really alien sounding. Ooh. Let's play with that a little more. That's really cool. So can we change the time on that? So I'm not 100% sure, but I think hitting the time, this time button is also, as well as being a knob, is also a button. Or if it goes on for too long. That's cool. There's like some cool, rhythmic stuff going on there. So you have got MIDI in and out on the side of this guy. So presumably tempo sync is an option. Well, okay, tempo sync will be an option in there. And then I think you can swap between different memory banks as well. I think it's going to be worth taking a dedicated look at the MIDI capabilities of this in just a second once we're done with the parameters. So yeah, okay, fine, fair enough. It isn't. It's sort of a modulating delay with a little bit of reverb, but it kind of encompasses like a weird pitchy arpeggio thing. So that's kind of cool. Pad echo. Right, this is my favorite settings currently, the pad one. So this again affects the attack. So let's try and make a nice pad sound. So then attack all the way up. Ooh. Nah, can't play. What happens if you try to make a pad out of like super distorted amplifier? That could be fun. Could be horrible. I don't know. Yeah, Spinal Puppet. Oh, it's actually quite nice. Let's turn the feedback up. Actually, we'll do a really dark, but like a really modular one. Modular? Modulating. That's nice. That's pretty fun. I like that. I got a little bit distracted there. Okay, so I feel like we've covered those a little bit. A couple things I really like are the tap division. So you've got, I think you've got it for each of the different modes. You've got, if we're using the stupid Latin system that doesn't make a damn bit of sense anymore, you've got minim, crotchet, and quaver subdivisions, and you can also have those divided again by I don't know why I'm holding this up, you can see it clearly. You've also got triplets and dotted notes, yeah, within each of those. So it is a little, the order that they appear in is a little bit confusing. So yeah, that's quite nice. And you can see how this changes according to that. The memory bank is also really nice. You've got an internal memory there. You've got manual, what it's set to now with the green button, which is literally just all of whatever settings are currently on the screen, so to speak. And then you've got a bank of 4 different patches which are savable, and you can swap between them with the memory button here, and presumably there's a way to do that through MIDI as well, should you choose to. Something that I think I've noticed, but I'm not sure, and I kind of want to test. If I go to standard, and I put everything to as close to 50 as I can be bothered to get, or 5, 50, feedback, 50, EQ level, 50. Right, what seems weird is that if I then move to analog, for example, oh no, there's a better way to demonstrate that. If I put this all the way down and then go to analog, so with the effect level all the way down, I should be able to not hear any delay. That makes sense, right? So in standard, with that all the way down at 0, hang on, let me change to a slightly less crunchy sound. I'm out of tune now. Right when I was making a point. So understandably, no delay. If I move it to analog now, that's still set to 0, but do we have delay? We don't. Okay, right, hang about. Okay, cool. Let's just try it with one of the other ones. So we should have that at about halfway. Yeah, so we get the effect. Let's go feedback down 0. So you should get, guess it varies depending on the effect, but you should get 1 there. So then if I go this way, see that feels like more than 0. Oh no, it's not. Okay, I thought I'd stumbled across a glitch or something, but as it turns out I'm wrong. So let's just never bring this up again. I thought what was the case is that when you turn to a new effect, it remembered what that effect was set to previously, but that is not the case. It's actually, I think, really good that you can switch between the different modes, and still whatever is on screen, so to speak, is reflected in, whatever you've got here is set this way regardless of where you are here. I don't know why that would not be the case, but there was something I did earlier that made me think that would be the case. You know what, it's fine, and it doesn't matter because I'm wrong, so never mind then. Has my screen stopped freaking out yet? Or not really? Looks alright for the moment. Okay, so let's have a look. So tone, I think it's pretty obvious what the tone does. Mod depth. So that if we take the example of a vibrato, which is a different kind of effect, obviously, but when you talk about the depth of a vibrato, you mean how far the pitch is bending either way. So a very low depth on a vibrato would mean like the world's most, like not even really moving, but ever so slightly, whereas a wide vibrato would be more like a huge bend. So this is the same idea, but with the modulation effects that are on board in the delay pedal. So that's quite interesting. That you have a separate effect for the modulation, because I think people like having these big evolving pad-like delay sounds. So actually, rather than having to have probably 2 delay pedals and a modulation in between the 2 of them, you can just have this effect box, this DD-200, which is pretty nice. Oh, another thing I like, this effect level in most effects, and there is a caveat here with one of the modes, in most effects this would be a blend or a mix between 2 things. So if you have it all the way down here at 0, that means only dry guitar signal and no effect. And if you have it all the way up here, it would usually mean entirely effect and none of the original guitar signal. That is the case in reverse mode, which is that one there. So if we're back here, we only have... That's pretty crazy. I like that. But on all the other modes, if you have it all the way up... Oh, volume on guitar, please. If you have it all the way up, your original signal is the same. It just means that your delay signal is really loud. Now that's quite nice, because I think it means that you can sort of... I don't know, I can just sort of see that being a little more flexible. And it means that you're not losing any of your original signal, you're just adding on top of it. I mean, a few times when I've been playing around with effects, I've accidentally had it all the way up, so I get a lot of effect, but like you don't hear what I'm actually playing, you're only hearing pedal, which is kind of... You're not even really playing guitar at that point, are you? Okay, let's have a scroll through the manual. Memory we've spoken about. Rear panel we haven't really spoken about. So you've got 2 inputs and 2 outputs, and you can... I've just got 1 input at the moment because 1 guitar basically, and then the output is stereo. So I've got my amplifier, this guy, coming out of the jack and going into the input, and then stereo output from that. So you can use the A and B jacks if connecting an effect unit that has stereo output. Use only the A jack if the unit is mono. Okay, so that's literally to do with whatever the previous thing in the signal chain is. So in this case, it's just the guitar amp, so that makes perfect sense. So presumably, when you put in a stereo input, the output is going to be slightly different than it would be if you put in a mono input. So this is going to go in, and your main signal is going to stay central, and the delays are going to be kind of different depending on the left and right channels. If you put in a stereo input, I imagine that you have 1 delay for the left and 1 delay for the right. So if you have a drastically different sound in the left and right channels, that could be a little janky. It might also be cool, but that's something to be aware of. Control 1, 2, and expression jack. So you've got another input at the back here. Oh, you can sort of see it when I poke that. You can connect a foot switch like the FS5U, F6 or F7. You can use that as a tap input, the delay time, or to switch memories. Okay. Interesting. interesting. But is that not a tap tempo? Interesting. Okay. It does not explicitly stay. Or you can use it as an expression. So I have one of the Roland EV5s or something, can't remember. And you can use that to control the delay time or the volume of the effect sound. So delay time could be really weird, because you know when you change the delay time, you often get that weird pitchy sound that like indie bands in like the crappy venue for kids will always like get on their knees and play with those buttons, and it's super annoying, and I hate it because it screws with the levels and you deafen yourself. Yeah, you get that kind of thing. So it's interesting that you have the option to change that via a foot switch. I guess if you're not playing anything and you use it, that's sort of fair enough. And it's nice that you've got a visual indicator of what that is as well, so you can remember that, oh, it's not that I have to have my foot in this way, it's that I have to get to around about 225 or whatever. That's kind of handy. Only use Boss DC in, fair enough. You've got MIDI to collect an external MIDI device. You can use an external MIDI device to switch the memories of this unit. Cool. Don't connect an audio device. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's just these on the side. If you're not used to seeing these kind of mini jack TRS MIDI connectors, like, they're going to be a thing. I think they used to be a thing in like older gear, and they're making a comeback. Or the same is to be said for the USB-C connection. You can connect USB-C oh, that's to like update firmware. Just fair enough, that's a thing that you can do now, so that's cool. Switching memories we don't really need to talk about. So it is a little bit of a looper as well, which is quite nice. I gather by how common looping is in delay pedals that it's much the same effect in terms of what the pedal is actually doing. So it makes perfect sense that they've included it here. Just scrolling through the menu to see if there's any other things that we should talk about. Comes with rubber feet, which is quite nice. Doesn't look like there's much else we really need to talk about with it, which I guess is good. I want to look at the MIDI capabilities. MIDI is mentioned 24 times. Let's pull this over here so you can actually all take part in the wonder that is this. So menu parameter. Oof. Turns the looper on and off. Right, I think this is the MIDI stuff. So MIDI receive channel, you can specify the MIDI receive channel or off MIDI messages are not received. So you can send MIDI data to do things like start, stop. Well, I don't really know if you'd need a start, stop, but like tempo control is probably going to be really important. That's like the main thing I think you need for it. I mean, they say you can change settings, like switch memory banks. I think if you do any sort of like control change through MIDI, I think that could be quite important. So like you basically get 5 overall, because you've got 4 saved and then the manual. So as long as you don't touch the manual, you've basically got 5 settings there, and you can swap between them with MIDI. So like if you have delay in, well, you can have 5 different kinds of delay, can't you? And then you can use them in all of your songs if you want, and you can switch between them whenever you want through MIDI. So if you do any kind of MIDI effects changes with, like, I don't know, if you use like a rack unit that has MIDI and you use a foot switch to change amps or to change effects on that, you can also use it to transmit changes to this, which is pretty powerful. And it can also transmit MIDI. I wonder if it can send MIDI tempo. That would be really fun. So you can specify whether program changes are sent. That's cool. And then you've got control changes, the CCs. Okay, so you can send and receive CC, I guess, using the foot switch or the knob. That's kind of interesting. That's... Okay, so then I guess you can change the CC number for each of the parameters on here. So whether the effect is on and off. Tone, mod parameter, level, all that stuff can be controlled via MIDI, which is pretty cool. So actually, it depends if you're using like Ableton or Cubase or anything that can sync with hardware really simply. You can essentially use it as a plugin and then automate all of the effects through MIDI, which is pretty dope. Factory settings, I'll probably do that before I send it back to Boss. Okay. The rest of it is kind of boilerplate. I feel like we've kind of plumbed the depths of this, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I'm still going to play with it for a little bit longer. I'm maybe going to hook it up with some synths and try some different stuff and use this and that footage to do like a whole bunch of videos and reviews and stuff. So thanks for hanging out whilst I essentially stream in order to repurpose. Wednesday stream is, as far as I know, happening. I don't know what it'll be. I could be doing synth stuff with this pedal. I might be doing some sort of Cubase something. I haven't decided yet because I haven't really thought about it. But until then, thanks for hanging out. Find my flipping mailing list on Twitter at LTGuitarist. Sign up to that because it's fun. And I'll see you Wednesday. Toodaloo.